Magandang umaga po mga kaibigan. Tayo na sa ating Wednesday Roundtable at Lido. We'll talk about important issues today. There's something to do with human rights, extrajudicial killings, and the reported case to be filed against the president before the International Criminal Court. So this morning, we'll talk about all this, and we hope we'll have the luxury of time to listen to our resource persons. Let's start. Kasama natin si Congressman Harry Roque ng Kabayan. I'd like to let you know that according to Secretary Lorenzana, Pemberton is still in the country. Hindi pa raw naman nawawala, okay? Si Attorney Jude Sabio, ang counsel for Edgar Matobato. Oh,
Ilagay mo na ang itsura mo.
oh, yeah. At si Ginoong Sir Ebro Carlos mula sa In Defense of Human Rights and Dignity Movement. Let's begin. Okay. Siguro, let me ask you, ano ba sitwasyon ng human rights sa Pilipinas? Ito po yung mikropono.
Well, yes. A pleasant morning to everyone. The In Defense of Human Rights and Dignity Movement is currently the largest human rights coalition and at the forefront of calling on government to put a stop to the violence, yung talamak na karahasan, itong social cleansing approach, and of course, yung attack on the most vulnerable, the most disadvantaged, the most beaten down members of our society, as well as countering the forceful restoration of capital punishment and the lowering of the minimum age of what they now call social responsibility. So for us, this is vilification of drug dependence. Wide myths have been sown with respect to drug dependency, and we believe there are more effective responses. No, we've been proposing government to actually adopt an effective, sustainable, and compassionate human rights-based response to the drug issue, as well as the crime pervasiveness issue, which are only results of a much deeper social issue, which is the widespread abject poverty. No? So this poverty-inducing system has actually created a huge market of individuals predisposed to become exploited into a life of crime and drugs. And yung life of dignity is really, should be the response, as well as radical reforms in the criminal justice system. So this social cleansing, killing of society's undesired, has not worked elsewhere, and it never will. No,
It never will.
There is a direct relationship between the decrease of crime and the rise of a standard of living, and yung human rights-based approach to good governance should be adopted by this administration.
Okay. Attorney Sabio, do you have enough grounds or do you have a leg to stand on when you bring the case before the International Criminal Court?
Yes, I believe it is my personal conviction that we have sufficient basis to convince the Office of the Prosecutor of the ICC that there is sufficient basis to proceed with a formal investigation. Now, if we have to understand the extrajudicial killings happening after the President Duterte became president, we have to look at what happened in Davao when he was still mayor. As testified by Matobato and as confirmed now by Las Cañas, there were killings in Davao, murders committed by the Davao Death Squad, headed by no less than Mayor Duterte. And my belief, my theory is that uh, Mayor Duterte then already committed crimes against humanity in Davao through the willful killings committed by the Davao Death Squad. Now, it is my theory that Duterte merely continued the extrajudicial killings after he became president. In other words, he used the model of the Davao Death Squad in Davao City when he was mayor. He used it as a model, as a template, no, as a strategy of crime control. We have to take note that then Mayor Duterte boosted to then ex-president Gloria Macapagal Arroyo when he said that his secret in crime control, no, in eradicating crime in Davao, in making Davao the 9th safest city in the world, no, is precisely to kill suspected criminals. And that is what he's doing right now. And I think that is a basis, no, to prosecute him in the International Criminal Court. I think it's long overdue, and it is now proper and ripe to sue him before the International Criminal
But
Court.
have you exhausted remedies in the Philippines?
This is not a question of exhaustion because I believe it is impossible even to start an investigation. Nobody in the present government will ever investigate the president. You look at Dante Gueran, Attorney Gueran in the NBI. He was one of the people testified by Matubato who fed a live kidnapper to a crocodile. Attorney Salvador Medialdea, the executive secretary, was lawyer for Bienvenido Laud. When that case, the case for the search warrant went up to the Supreme Court, he was the lawyer of SPO4 Bienvenido Laud, who's the owner of the Laud property. You take note that the Laud property is where they buried, no, the dead bodies, people killed by the Davao Death Squad. We have Secretary Aguirre. Do you think Secretary Aguirre will investigate the president? He was also the lawyer of the Bienvenido Laud in that Abasola case, where Ernesto Abasola testified in favor of the search warrant applied for by the PNP. This case went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court upheld the search warrant on the basis of the testimony of Abasola. And we have Attorney Panelo. We cannot expect Attorney Panelo to investigate these extrajudicial killings because he is close to the president. He is even the lawyer for the Ampatuans. Now, in this kind of climate, we cannot expect the government to be willing to investigate. How much more with President Duterte? He will never investigate himself, Mel.
Okay.
That is as clear as the sun rising in the east. It is clearly impossible for this government to investigate the president of this country.
Yeah. Attorney Roque, Congressman Roque, should you be requested by the president to defend him before the ICC, would you?
Definitely, because I think the complaints will be dismissed. I'm speaking now as the only Filipino member of the List Council in the International Criminal Court, which is the bar of the International Criminal Court. The Criminal Court is not a perfect criminal court. It is a result of compromise. It is the result of treaty. Number one, no case can be prosecuted or even investigated by the court until we comply with the principle of complementarity. Complementarity means that domestic courts and institutions must be unable or unwilling to do the investigation themselves. This means that domestic courts and domestic institutions are courts of primary jurisdiction. The ICC is only a court of last resort. Why? Because states wanted the ICC to be the court of last resort. Now, secondly, as far as Matubato and Las Cañas are concerned, none of the matters that they testified upon, assuming them to be true, can be acted upon by the ICC. Why? Because the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court is prospective from the time we ratify the Rome Statute. And we ratified the Rome Statute in August 11, 2011. Nothing that happened prior to the date of a ratification can be investigated by the International Criminal Court. So unless Matubato and Las Cañas have information relating to after 2011, and I understand that they were testifying on the Davao Death Squad activities, then it cannot be acted upon by the court. And I will not even go to the merits of what a crime against humanity is. I will, however, state that the last case dismissed by the ICC was in Kenya. And in Kenya, that involved 10,000 killings. That was dismissed for lack of evidence because when you talk about the elements of a crime against humanity, widespread and systematic, widespread means literal. Widespread as in the context of what happened to the 6 million Jews that died during World War II, which was the first instance when we had a prosecution for crimes against humanity. What happened in Yugoslavia, that targeting specifically of ethnic minorities, not just civilians in general, and the genocide that happened in Rwanda. So it's not enough that you have to show that it is widespread in the context of the different instances where we've had prosecution for crimes against humanity. It must not only be attacks against civilians. You must have a reason for attacking the civilians as such, either because of membership in a religious group, ethnic group, or whatever. But it cannot be indiscriminate. So the problem there too is until now, as far as widespread is concerned, we don't even know the correct numbers. No doubt there is a violation of the duty to protect the right to life, but that's not a criminal offense as far as the Rome Statute of the ICC is concerned.
Okay. What do you have to say about this?
Well-
Microphone, please.
Yes, well, basically, for us, we work directly at the very communities, most affected communities nitong war on drugs. And it's clear that he has defined a section of the population as inhuman. Actually, worse pa nga dun sa, subhuman pa nga yung kay Hitler. So, and worthy of elimination. No? Malinaw yan sa pronouncements ng presidente when he assumed office, when he encouraged the police, offering them protection against litigation, no? As well as armed sections of the left, and encouraging civilians actually to partake in the killings. So, yeah, it's a systematic violation of civil and political rights, the arbitrary derogation of the right to life and due process. And the defining character or central platform of this government is really extrajudicial killings. And his framework or paradigm for change is solely rested on a violent peace and order framework that has to stop. No, definitely. Mahirap po yung breaking impunity. No? It's difficult, and I agree with the attorney, that it's difficult for families to actually decide filing cases because of fear for reprisal. And we're having difficulties with that. But we should hold this president and others accountable for the massive human rights violations that have taken place. The 8,000, that figure, is just the documented ones. Marami pong not coming forward at hindi na dokumento ng media and human rights organizations. No?
Okay. How would you know if the president is serious or was just kidding? Because there is this propensity of the president to say this and the spokesman would, say otherwise the next day.
Well, may bearing po ang pronouncements ng isang president, no? And other officials. So may effect yan on public opinion, and government will always be a teacher for good or bad. So they should set a good example. Whatever they say in public has a significant bearing.
Okay. Yes.
Let me clarify. We're not just talking here about whether or not there has been a breach of the state obligations on the right to life. As early as Philip Alston, during the time of GMA, Philip Alston already said there is such a breach because killings are happening and the government has not been investigating. We have always had a problem with the state's failure to fulfill its obligation to uphold and protect the right to life since GMA, Aquino, and possibly Duterte. But this does not mean that he can be impleaded in the ICC because, as I said, it's not a perfect court. It's a result of compromise among sovereign states whose heads of states could very well be prosecuted in the court. And so don't think any case can be brought to the court. It only has to be the most serious violations of international law, and after satisfying very, very technical requirements. In fact, here, the exhaustion of domestic remedies is not just a procedural requirement. It affects the very jurisdiction of the court. You have to convince the court that domestic courts and institutions are unable and unwilling, given that we already ratified the treaty and the treaty says we will not accord immunity to anyone, including a head of state. Now, we do have an IHL. By way of backgrounder, I was director of the Institute of International Legal Studies of the Philippines. We were at the forefront. I was also a convener of the Coalition for the ICC. We were at the forefront in drafting the Philippine IHL law and in ratifying the ICC Rome Statute. So I think I know a little about the ICC. You cannot simply bring any case there, assuming that it functions as a domestic court. There's a very high threshold as far as the jurisdiction of the court is concerned. And I now can say with certainty that as it stands, no case against Duterte can be filed because no one has attempted to sue him before domestic courts, which you have to show is unable or unwilling. And number two, the fact is we do not know what kind of evidence can be recovered in the 7 months of Duterte in office, plus taking note that anything that happened before August 11, 2011 is not within the jurisdiction of the ICC.
All right. Attorney Sabio, let me ask you, whatever happened to the case you filed before the Ombudsman?
The case with the Ombudsman is presently undergoing fact-finding investigation. I have to make a legal dichotomy, Mel. The case with the Ombudsman involves killings in Davao when Duterte was still mayor. While the case intended to be filed with the ICC pertains to extrajudicial killings committed by him after he became president. Now, of course, we will be filing a case with the ICC within the temporal jurisdiction of the ICC, meaning that only those killings committed after August 2011 will be the subject matter of that case to be filed with the ICC. But we have a local legislation in Republic Act 9851, which was enacted in 2011 by way of implementation of the Rome Statute. No? Now, Matubato filed a complaint in the Ombudsman. Of course, among the charges is violation of that Republic Act 9851. Now, Duterte can be convicted, can be prosecuted for the killings done while he was still mayor. But consistent with what I stated, that there is a legal dichotomy, the case to be filed with the ICC will involve only extrajudicial killings that happened when he became president.
Would you be able to gather the evidence as mentioned by Attorney Roque?
I would like to dispute the assertion of Attorney Roque that we need to have so many deaths to be proven with the ICC. My position is that even one murder will constitute a crime against humanity. One of the elements of the crime against humanity is that the perpetrator killed one or more persons. Now, that element goes to show that even one murder can qualify the case as crime against humanity. What we need to prove is only that there is a course of conduct involving the multiple commission of murders in order that the crime will fit in with all the elements of the crime. In other words, there must be an attack, which is systematic or widespread against a civilian population. Now, even if only one murder is identified in terms of the victim, in terms of the date, in terms of the context in which the killing is made, there is already crime against humanity. All we need to prove, even if all the other deaths are unidentified, even if the victims of all 1,000 deaths are not identified, there will still be a crime against punishment as long as we can prove the element, and that is a widespread or systematic attack directed against a civilian population. Now, I would like also to dispute the assertion of Attorney Roque that he is mentioning genocide. Now, like Attorney Panelo of Malacanang, who said that the proper charge should be genocide. No, I dispute that. We are filing a case for crimes against humanity, not for genocide. Crimes against humanity is defined under Article 7 of the Rome Statute, while genocide is defined under, if I'm not mistaken, Article 6 of the Rome Statute. Genocide is different from crime against humanity. Genocide is the intentional destruction, in whole or in part, of a racial, ethnic, religious, or national group, while crime against humanity is simply the commission of murder under paragraph 1 of Article 7 of the Rome Statute, aside from all other acts constituting the crime against humanity. It's only the commission of murder of even just one person. No? As long as there is a widespread or a systematic attack directed against a civilian population with knowledge of the attack. Now, the attack should be implemented by the state or by an organization through a policy of committing such attack.
So how do you define the policy now? Because
Now-
I believe there is no written memorandum for the police or some other groups
That
to
is
do
what
it.
I said, Mel. The evidence that we have in the testimony of Matobato and Las Cañas proves that what happened in Davao is happening right now. What happened in Davao is being continued by the president. And his failure to act on these extrajudicial killings constitutes an encouragement of that policy to attack. No? That failure to act can be understood as a part of the policy to attack a civilian population. As stated by Mr. Carlos, the most vulnerable sector of civilian population being attacked right now is the impoverished communities, the poor. Because in the report of Amnesty International entitled, "If you are poor, you are killed," extrajudicial executions in the Philippines. The poor is the most vulnerable segment of the civilian population that is being attacked through extrajudicial executions in the country right now. Now, we have not seen President Duterte kill somebody in the war on drugs, but his failure to act as an encouragement of that policy to attack civilian population makes him liable by way of command responsibility. Under the Rome Statute, even a head of state can be held responsible by virtue of the principle of command responsibility.
Okay.
He is the commander-in-chief. He heads the police organization. And he should stop the police, but he is not stopping
Okay.
the killings.
Yes.
Well, I was an academic for 15 years teaching international criminal law, so I have to correct Attorney Sabio. One case of a killing will never qualify as a crime against humanity. He's confusing it with a war crime. Precisely because a crime against humanity has to be widespread or systematic. If it's one death, it cannot be because precisely crime against humanity is an attack against civilian populations. Now, as against, compared with war crimes, a single act of war crime can be prosecuted, except that it cannot be prosecuted in the ICC because state parties reserve the ICC's jurisdiction to the most serious crimes. Where can you prosecute? Domestic courts, because we have, in fact, a domestic statute. Another point of clarification is when we lobbied for the Philippine IHL law, it was a time when we were not yet a member of the ICC. We did so because we wanted us to be bound by the principles of international criminal law, even if at that time, Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo was very clear that she will not be a party to the ICC. So it did not predate our ratification. And that's why I'm saying that even if there's a provision that we do not lift the immunity of a sitting president in the Philippine IHL law, the fact that the treaty signing came after the Philippine law and the treaty says there's no such thing as immunity, my position is the president can be sued. And that's what I want them to do first. Exhaust and comply with the principle of complementarity. I'm not saying that there's no crime committed, but because the jurisdiction of the court hinges on complementarity, you have to comply. Now, the requirement is either widespread or systematic. It does not have to be both. But when you allege a system, you must show a plan. A plan consistent with other cases where we have successfully prosecuted crimes against humanity. In World War II, it was because of ethnic lines. In Yugoslavia, it was also because of ethnic lines. And in Bosnia, it was also in terms of ethnic lines. Now, let me clarify, extralegal killings is not a crime against humanity. Why? Because a crime against humanity is murder. So you have to prove that the widespread or systematic murders comply with the elements of murders. And that is, there is an element of intent and any circumstance that would make the killing murder and not ordinary homicide. And that is why the burden, the evidentiary burden, assuming you can hurdle the jurisdictional barriers of jurisdiction, temporal jurisdiction, and complementarity is very difficult. It is not easy. In fact, most of the convictions, in fact, all of the convictions that the courts have had so far, the ICC, has to do with the recruitment of children. Why? Because the murder that has to be proven as a crime against humanity, it's even more difficult than war crimes. War crimes kasi you just have to show it's in the context of an armed conflict and that it was grave. But on crimes against humanity, you have to prove either widespread or systematic, and you have to prove the elements of murder. How do you prove the elements of murder when you're alleging either system or widespread? That's why we have not had any conviction so far for murder under crimes against humanity in the ICC. And the alternative is what we have been doing in center law. We've been filing cases against policemen who are targeting civilians. We filed the first ever writ of amparo against Tokhang. We were successful in the Supreme Court. And we filed also murder cases before the Ombudsman. That's the remedy.
Okay. Yes, reaction, please.
The elements of the crime, no, as passed by the Assembly of States Parties, is clear. One of the elements is that the perpetrator committed or killed a person or more or one person or more persons. No, one person or more. In other words, the element is clear that even one murder can qualify the case as a crime against humanity. Now, it is very difficult to prove so many murders, Mel. All we have to do is just to prove that all the other murders, even if the victims are unidentified, no, were made as part of the widespread or systematic attack against a civilian population. All we need is just to prove that at least one or two or three or identified victims are victims of the extrajudicial executions, no, being directed against a civilian population. Now, war crimes are different from crimes against humanity because war crimes are committed in times of armed conflict. Now, in the case of a crime against humanity, the attack does not even have to constitute a military action. Now, even in times of peace, there is still a crime against humanity. It doesn't mean that there should be a war, like a combat between a group of people, no, armed groups, so that a crime against humanity can arise.
Okay.
Even in times of peace, even now, that there is a war on drugs, the so-called war on drugs, crime against humanity can still arise.
Okay. We'd like to open the floor to our colleagues from the media because the good
I have to go
Congressman...
kasi Globe franchise is being discussed. I'm going to oppose the renewal of Globe franchise. Let that be on record because I think they have rotten service. They don't deserve a renewal.
Okay, but we'll have to please yield to some questions from the media.
Congressman Roque. Sir, I'm just getting the impression that there will be no case against the president simply because of technical issues and not because of evidence.
Well, that's how the court is made. Remember, they sued also the Pope for crimes against humanity, for allegedly failing to address the many cases of sexual harassment committed by the priests worldwide. And they documented about 15,000 cases. They did not implead the court because the principle is must be widespread or systematic. So either it was not widespread or they were not able to show a plan or a system. No? So that's what I've been saying. It is not established as a court of first instance. It was not established to bring any and every single case of egregious human rights violations. It's reserved for the most serious crimes. Remember, these are states that gave their consent to establish the court. All states with prime ministers and presidents who have domestic immunity under the laws agreed to the court. Why? Because it's a very conservative court. It's a very, very, it's not a place where you can get easy convictions. Kaya nga ngayon, parang ang classes of cases that they have been entertaining are recruitment of children, because how can you go wrong in prosecuting individuals for recruitment of children as combatants?
And the biggest hurdle is the principle of complementarity.
Complementarity, because you have to show that domestic courts and institutions are unable or unwilling to do so. And I do not know how you can establish that given that even the CHR is investigating. There have been cases filed in the Ombudsman already, and the Ombudsman is investigating. So you have to remember too that the instances that have been acted upon by international tribunals involve cases where there are no functioning domestic courts, such as in, where is that place, yung Black Hawk Down? Somalia. Somalia, there is no functioning government at all. So in an area where there are no functioning courts, what do? You bring it to an international tribunal. So, but again, I would like to highlight it. I'm not declaring that there are no human rights violations happening. In center law, we have taken advantage of domestic remedies, the writ of amparo, and filing cases against policemen in the Ombudsman. Unfortunately, we have no evidence to implead the president as of now because the cases that have come to us are clearly instances of policemen arbitrarily killing individuals whom they describe as nanlaban. So the cases are only against the policemen.
Attorney Dana, would you have any questions so far? Okay, would you care to react, please?
Yes.
Please.
I think we are all in agreement that there is a problem, no? A multifold human rights crisis at the moment, no? The killings, also publicly perpetrated torture with impunity, no? The shame campaigns, psychological torture, wala pa pong nakakasuhan dito, no? A violation of the our RA 9745. Yeah, I agree with the complementary principle. Isang hurdle yon. We discussed this in I Defend. But it's clear, no? Yung incitement to violence. Malinaw yan. On the internet, we have records of the president actually encouraging these killings. He has created these conditions, opened Pandora's box. Also, the lack of affirmative action to stop. No? Itong deaths under investigation ng police, itong vigilante killings, these also rose. Yung rampancy niya started when he assumed office. So, we again like to reiterate our position that genuine peace and order, public safety, is dependent on decent living conditions. So, for everybody in society to have opportunities and to get out of poverty. So, dapat kabuhayan, no? Hindi patayan, karapatan, hindi karahasan, at ang tunay na pagbabago ay talagang nakaangkla sa isang makakarapatang pangtaong sistema. So, if the foremost right, the right to life from which all other rights emanate from is disregarded, then we have serious doubts whether genuine change can come. Yung palang, doon pa nga lang sa right to life, may question na, medyo mahirap yan. No? So, again, meron pong mga tamang solusyon. Immediate is, of course, the radical reforms in our criminal justice system. And of course, meron pong linalako, like Senator Risa Ontiveros filed the Harm Reduction Strategy Bill, which has worked in other countries, no? Diverting drug dependency from the criminal justice system to a public health approach. So, gumana po yan. Itong social cleansing approach, hardline approach, never worked in other contexts. Sinabi na po ng Colombia yan. Sinabi na po ng Colombian expert din nung Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights Committee at nung Colombian president and other places where they applied this hardline approach for decades. Kaya sana magising na itong ating administrasyon na hindi uubra itong klaseng itong kaparaanan na ito.
Sa tingin niyo ba madidismiss kung sakaling dumulog si Atty. Sabio sa ICC?
Yun po ang posisyon ko. Madidismiss mo yan because of non-compliance with complementarity, because of prospective temporal jurisdiction, and because of lack of not even probable cause, substantial evidence on either widespread or systematic. Having said that, I reiterate, there is a remedy, Philippine law.
Philippine law. And your position is nothing will happen in the Philippines.
Of course, as an advocate, I will insist that we will hurdle the legal requirement of complementarity. As I said earlier, it is impossible for this government to investigate itself. No? The president was the head of the Davao Death Squad, and his minions in the NBI, in the Department of Justice, and in the executive department, like Attorney Medjaldia, they are all connected to the Davao Death Squad. So it is wishful thinking for them to investigate themselves. Now, that in itself qualifies the case or is substantial compliance with the principle of complementarity. We take note that as of today, there is no case of investigation made by the Duterte administration. We do not hear of any police investigation being conducted by the PNP or by the NVI. It's simply because even the PNP chief was part of the Davao Death Squad. And NBI Dante Giran was one of those people who fed a live kidnapper to a crocodile. So how can we expect an investigation? Now, before we go to the court, we have to conduct an investigation. We have to file a case with the police and then with the prosecutor before we reach the court. How can we reach the court? If even the government, even the Department of Justice and the NBI are not conducting investigations into
Okay.
8,000 killings.
Okay, what would you advise? Kung hindi makakalapit sa police, hindi makakalapit sa NBI, hindi makakarating sa hukuman.
Kami po, nagpunta kami sa ombudsman para doon sa mga pinatay dyan sa Payatas na nabigyan ng writ of amparo. Napakadaming remedyo po. Sabi nila, walang remedyo sa tukak. Di ba nag-file kami ng amparo, na-issue naman ng korte, kauna-unahang pagkakataon. Sabi nila, wala raw nagpaparusa sa mga pulis. Paano papaparusahan niya kung di kayo magsampa ng kaso? Nagsampa kami laban doon sa mga pulis na pumatay nung 4 na napatay doon sa Payatas, no, na kasama ni Murillo. So, ang aking advice sa lahat ng mga abogado, human rights advocates, magsampa kayo ng mga murder cases. Dahil kapag tayo ay mag-advocate lang, tuloy ang patayan. Bakit? Kasi walang mapaparusahan dahil sa patayan na yan. So ang solusyon sa akin, pagganahin yung sistemang legal, file cases for murder, prosecute them, convict them. Dapat merong ma-recognize natin yung very big gap between advocacy and the dirty job of having to do what lawyers are expected to do. I have to go.
We have any question from the floor? We still have time for that. One. Yes, you have a question? Question? Okay. So we'll have to let you go. Okay. Tuloy tayo sa ating talakayan. Yumaon na si Congressman Roque. Umalis na si Congressman Roque. Tuloy tayo dahil sinabi niya na kailangang mag-file ng mga usapin tulad ng ginawa nila. Do you think if people, let's say in Davao, will do that? Magpa-file sila ng kaso sa hukuman doon, sa piskalya, may mangyayari?
Kaya nga, hindi nga na-discover yung Davao Death Squad niyan, Mel, noong unang panahon dahil takot ang mga tao dyan eh. Sa tingin ko, wala namang biktima siguro na lalantad at magsampa ng kaso laban sa Pangulo. Dahil nga, takot eh.
Okay.
So, paano magsampang... Ewan ko lang kung meron bang biktima na lalantad at magsasabi na kakasuhan niya yung Pangulo. Sa tingin ko, wala eh. Kaya nga, imposible nga yan eh. Kahit na siguro yung Amnesty International nga, yung police na in-interview nila, ayaw nga magpakilala eh. Di ba may police doon na nagsabi na binabayaran sila sa headquarters ng pera every time na meron silang pinapatay. Ayaw nga lumantad eh. Police na nga yan. Sino ngayon? Si Matubato nga lumantad takot nga. 'Di ba? Takot nga si Las Cañas naka-safe house pa nga yung dalawa na yan. Meron kayang tao sa slum areas, halimbawa sa Tondo na lalabas katulad ni Matubato at Las Cañas para tumistigo laban sa Pangulo? Meron kaya?
Okay.
Diba?
Sa tingin nyo, kayo nasa advocacy group, meron kayo magkakalakas ng loob? Yun ang tanong niya eh.
Actually, buhay po yung aming karanasan dyan kasi Basically, may ilang law groups, mga law human rights groups under iDefend, no? Yung alternative law groups, and we work closely with Free Legal and Assistance Group, no? Napakahirap po. We have actually families who of victims of extrajudicial killings na decided talagang magsampa ng kaso. Of course, I agree with Congressman Harry Roque na talagang isang front yan. Kailangan mo talaga to file cases. But challenge din kami ng PNP, no, to file cases. But it is not that simple. And it is not the only front, no? I agree that filing a case against the president is very difficult. So it entails a lot of spade work. Pero mahalaga din yung ating pagkakapit-bisig, yung meta-legal na tinatawag, to call on this president to stop the killings. Malinaw yung kanyang de facto policy sa kanyang pronouncements. In human rights parlance nga, yung commission and omission and the arbitrary derogation of the right to life and due process. Ito yung creating the conditions, no, for massive human rights violations to occur. So ang social cause po niyan is we threaten to transfigure the mindsets of all our police officers, no, transforming even the most law-abiding police officer into butchers. Nandiyan na po yung kultura ng violence. Since the time of Marcos, nandiyan pa po yung vestiges at lalong ibinuhay, revive lalo and encourage yung culture of violence. Also to commit shortcuts, no? By forcing, yung forced quotas for police chiefs, predispose our police officers to become more violent, produce results. Otherwise, patatapon sa Mindanao. Yung collective sociopathy is also our for us is very alarming. Yung desensitization ng ating mga kababayan to killings, no? Nagiging normal. Mga bata in communities where we work, may mga Duterte games na. Dudutertehin kita. So yung example that government actually presents to our youth. So ang kinabukasan ng ating kabataan, ang Filipino youth is at stake. So itong human rights crisis has to be stopped, and unfortunately a lot of our kababayans are misled, no? But there is a mindset shift already that we notice, and if there is a utter disregard for the right to life, hindi po magtatagal ito. So sana, kung gustong manatili sa pwesto ni Presidente Duterte at patuloy siyang mahalin ng taong bayan, gawin niya kung ano yung nararapat ayon sa karapatang pangtao at ayon sa kapakanan ng lalo na nung pinaka-vulnerable sa ating lipunan, ang mahihirap. Even yung political opponents in the future can easily be tagged as drug protectors. So even attacks on human rights defenders, diba? He threatened to include us in the harvesting last year. Hindi yon tama, at actually we actually blame, no, or the lack of the democratization of essential services by past administrations, yung frustration ng taong bayan dahil sa kawalan ng aksyon sa karapatang pangtao or the requirements of a life of dignity that actually gave rise to such a violent president with authoritarian tendencies. And democracy is threatened, and we have to act. Salamat na lang sa media sector na that is bringing to the public itong conscientization that we are putting forward, the importance of due process, no matter how dysfunctional our criminal justice system is. No? Kailangan ayusin yan. The safeguards and the transparency that the pillars of the criminal justice system actually provides for all Filipinos is very important. Mahirap ito na isa lang haligi ng criminal justice system that decides who is guilty and that justice is actually settled on the streets. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, I heard, Attorney Sabio, merong mga nagdi-destabilize ng gobyerno. Do you share the same idea na merong destabilizers in society?
Basta hindi lang violent, Mel, yung destabilization, pwede namang impeachment eh. Hindi naman kailangan maging violent. So kung impeachment yan, tama lang yun. Sa tingin ko, may batayan na i-impeach si Pangulong Duterte. Di ba sa pulis? Pagpunta mo sa pulis, sabihin nila, wala yan. At saka doon sa Davao, pag nagreklamo ka, ang sabi doon, pag nagreklamo ka, sasabihan ka sa pulis, tumahimik ka na lang. Ganun yon. Kung sabi ng Amnesty International, ang talagang ang pinupuntirya nila ay mga mahihirap, talagang mahirap, madaling matakot yan, Mel. Pag nagreklamo yan, posible yan magkaso. Pero pag sinabihan na ng pulis na tumahimik ka, baka may mangyari sa'yo, matatakot na yan. At saka masisira ang buhay nila. Biro mo, babalik-balikan ka ng pulis doon sa bahay mo, tatakot-takutin ka, patulad ka kay Matubato, kailangan mo ng safe house, paano yung hanap buhay mo, paano yung mga anak mo? Di ba? Tingnan mo ang buhay ni Matubato ngayon, tingnan mo ang buhay ni Las Cañas, wala na, hindi na normal. At saka bihira lang sa mga kababayan natin, lalo na yung mahihirap, na merong guts, merong tapang na lumantad at saka
Kung gano'n
tumistigo.
nakalagay nung dalawa, paano lalabas yung apat?
Kaya nga, mahirap yun. Mahirap talaga, Mel. No? Ibig mong sabihin, lahat ng mga tao niya, i-safe house natin. Saan natin ilalagay yan? Yung Department of Justice, hindi atin. Kalaban yan. Dahil si Matubato nga, umalis nga sa WPP. Kasi takot siya na baka patayin siya ni Pangulong Duterte doon mismo sa loob ng WPP. Kaya sa tingin ko, hindi naman kailangan na yung mga korte natin na hindi na functional. No? Nandyan yung mga korte natin na mag-ano yan sila, mag-iimbestiga, pag may dumating na kaso sa kanila, Mel, paano nga dumating? Yung mga kalimitan ng mga biktima mahihirap, do you think na kaya nilang labanan ng Pangulo natin? Yung senador nga, hindi nga nahihirapan nga lumaban kay Pangulong Duterte, tayo pa kaya? Yung mga mahihirap pa kaya? Hindi nga na makakain ng kanin, hindi nga makakain yan sa isang araw, 3 beses. Paano? Ilalaban pa yan sa Pangulo?
Kung ganito ang sitwasyon, paano?
Yeah.
Where do we go?
Just to give you figures, no? Sa CHR, mahigit lang sa 500 cases ang iniimbestigahan niya. Out of the 8,000 na documented, no? Even less of those were filed by families, no? Yung karamihan niyang 500 na yan ay motu proprio na automatically when they found out nag-investigate sila. So, hindi bunga ng pagpa-file ng mga families of victims of extra judicial killings. No? Punong-puno na po ang safe houses ng or sanctuaries ng Commission on Human Rights and we work together with them. Maski kami, ang religious sector ang nagpo-provide ng sanctuaries. Believe me, it's a logistical nightmare. Besides from having to uproot, kasi pag nag-file ng case, nagiging more at risk yung family. So, minsan, entire family, sina-uproot mo yan, dinadala mo sa sanctuaries, nadidisrupt din yung means of livelihood nila at yung eskwela ng mga bata. So, it is not that simple, no? And besides, for ordinary citizens na walang links to human rights organizations who do not even know how to reach the Commission on Human Rights. Paano? Complaints and disciplinary mechanisms, at sinabi din po ng AI yan, doon sa report niya sa Committee Against Torture when we were reviewed last year, is that yung complaints and disciplinary mechanisms for police, itong IAS, itong PLEB, itong NAPOLCOM, these are all inaccessible to the public, disharmonized, and magulo. So, paano para sa isang maralitang pamilya na nakaranas ng extrajudicial killing, paano sila lalapit? So, mahalaga that we, of course, take advantage of local remedies. Pero sa tingin ko, dati pa yan, unable and unwilling ang institutions natin yung repression and of course yung creeping authoritarianism. Sana mahadlangan natin itong repressive tools na linilay down, and that includes yung death penalty. Dictatorship tool po yan.
Trabaho niya na imbestigahan ng mga extrajudicial killings. Yun na nga, hindi nga na-investigate dahil sila mismo ang gumagawa sa mga extrajudicial killings na yan. At saka yung mga tao natin sa gobyerno ngayon, imposible na mag-imbestiga yan. Yung sinasabi ni Attorney Roque na dapat magsampa ng kaso, no, dapat ang gobyerno ang mag-initiate ng investigation, yung mga pulis, yung NBI, yung Department of Justice. Imposible ngayon eh.
Would it make a difference if the Philippine National Police would come up with the results of the so-called deaths under investigation?
Ewan ko, wala namang lumalabas ngayon na Mel, walang lumalabas na result ng investigation ng pulis. At saka as of now, walang nasasampahan kahit isang pulis for any extrajudicial killing. Ano na tayo, mga 8 months na. Wala pang nasasampahan ngayon. And yet, the ironic thing is that the Amnesty International has even come up with a report. Anong ginawa ng Senado sa report niyan? Hindi man lang pinapansin, hindi man lang ini-investigate, 'di ba? Pati yung testimony ni Las Cañas, inaano nila, binabaliwala lang nila. Sabi nila hindi credible. Malinaw yung testimonya ng tao na meron talagang Davao Death Squad at saka may mga patayan sa Davao.
Mahirap to, parang hanggang ngayon, malaking question ito eh. Dahilan sa, hindi ba sapat yung mga investigating arms ng gobyerno? Hindi ba sasapat?
Alam mo Mel, kung ibang tao lang ngayon ang kinakasuhan ng extrajudicial killings, dapat ang DOJ ang nag-investigate niyan, NBI, tsaka police. Hindi nga magagawa dahil tauhan na ni Pangulong Duterte yan eh. Hindi mo maasahan na sila mismo ang mag-investigate sa ginagawa nilang extrajudicial killings ngayon. So wala tayong choice. That will comply with the principle of complementarity. Because even if investigative agencies of the government are there to conduct investigation, it is impossible for us to invoke their authority to conduct investigations. So we have no choice but to go to the court of last resort, no, which is the International Criminal Court. We have no choice. Because in this kind of government, we cannot expect the government itself to investigate itself in these extrajudicial killings.
All right.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Malinaw yung recommendation of the Committee Against Torture kasi under our own anti-torture law, iisa pa lang po ang held accountable, isang police officer, no? Since it's enactment in 2009,